Tear your tickets, take your seats, it's time for Popcorn. I'm Dylan Bowden.
I'm Ryan Betson.
And today we're getting sucked into Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, as we talk all things Popcorn spoilers. Keep in mind there will be spoilers here, but this is a good forum for you guys at home to get in on the chat, tell us what you thought, ask us what we thought, ask any questions you'd like us to answer, and we'll get in and talk about Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle.
Get into those spoilers. So we've already got Logan in the chat as well, and so you guys get in the conversation as well. Jump in the chat and bullshit with us. Let's try it again. Yeah, we had some technical difficulties on the first go. We'll try it again.
Sick burn from Joel.
Let's see. Logan, so I'll try to catch it later if it takes too long. But looking forward to this review because the concept seems to be cool, but I'm afraid of it being just another cash grab. Well, in that case, set up the concept of this movie for us.
Well, the concept of this movie is there was a movie in 1995 named Jumanji, directed by Joe Johnston and starring Robin Williams, the late, great Robin Williams. And then they thought, you know what? Jumanji was pretty cool back in 1995. Let's do another cash grab.
In the same vein of like Baywatch was cool once. I mean, like, it seems to be in that same thread of movies.
Well, Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. It's a requel,
it's
a remake, a reboot,
yeah.
Semi-sequel, spiritual successor, all
Spiritual
along those
successor,
lines.
I think, is probably what it's closest.
I'd say sequel. But essentially, Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle sees 4 children, a nerd, a emo girl, a popular girl, and a jock. Mm-hmm. Put into detention for various reasons. They all go down into the basement of a high school, and they're cleaning out the bottom of the basement, and they find a video game called
Jumanji.
Oh, Jumanji. So they say, hey, let's have some fun. Let's play some Jumanji. And as opposed to Jumanji, the 1995 movie, where it was a board game that they played and things came out of the board game, in this version, it's a video game, so they get sucked into the video game.
So let's kick things off. And Joel, yes, I did see the whole movie. Fuck you. So at the start of the movie, if you remember from the end of Jumanji in 1995, they throw it in the ocean and it rocks up on a beach.
Yes,
that's where this movie kicks off. So they take it out of the beach, the literal board game. Guy takes it to his room, goes, "Hey," he's like, "Hey," to his brother. He's like, "Hey, I found this board game. Do you want it?"
Was his dad.
Was his dad?
His dad.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
yeah,
my apologies.
It was his dad.
Yeah, his dad's like, "Hey, I found this board game. Do you want it?" He's like, "Who plays fucking board games anymore?" Puts it over there, plays some PlayStation.
Yes.
Credit PlayStation. Well done. Well
done. It did
done.
look very PlayStation 1 as well.
It is a Sony Pictures movie, so it makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah. So then overnight, it goes boop, 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 and then becomes a cartridge, which makes no sense because he's playing a PlayStation, and then
Yeah, okay, that's my gripe because it turns into a cartridge clearly. So the board game, the board game's still there, and he's like, let's have a look at this stupid board game again. Opens it up, and instead of the board there's a cartridge. It looks like a Atari Lynx cartridge, like a small kind of one. And so he goes over to his console, plugs it in. But then for the rest of the movie, it seems like the board game turned into the console because it's got the green orb in the corner.
Yeah.
But the cartridge, and so he puts this cartridge when the system should have known that it was a disc these days, and then he plugs it into there. So is it a cartridge or is it a console?
So it's weird. So I'm not sure.
the nerd kid's like, I've never seen a console like this before.
Yeah.
So,
I think there's it's a little bit of disconnect that I didn't notice until right now. Until as I'm explaining it. And that's where it goes from there. So, like, the connection is that it is still the board game from the previous movie.
Yes.
But it's obviously some sort of dark-ass magic that can adapt to the times.
And keep in mind that the board game turned up on a beach, and when the people came over, they were, like, speaking French or something. So it seemed like it traveled the ocean and went somewhere else. In this one, it kind of just rocks up on the same small town on the beach just there.
Yeah. Could be in some French-ass people, like, in America.
You can yeah.
But let's see, before we get any further, Logan says it probably should have been a Switch. Actually, that would have been kind of funnier.
Well, it's set in 1996 at that point, so that's why it is a PlayStation.
Joel, other than that beach intro, are there any links whatsoever to the 1995 film? Just one. Just one a little bit later, where they refer... Once again, remember, spoilers, they refer to Alan Parrish.
How do they refer to Alan Parrish?
They find So... Later on, when they're in there, they find a hut with one of the guys living in this little makeshift treehouse.
Sure.
And on the side it says Alan Parrish was here. Did you spot that?
No, I did. It was very obvious.
The big difference here is rather than, like one adult actor, two adult actors, an actress, and two children. The movie starts as 4 children, becomes 4 adults with the Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
Just explain it in your video game jargon.
What do you mean?
They get sucked into the game and they become avatars in the game.
They become avatars or heroes for this game.
Spencer the nerd chooses Dr. Powerstone,
Dr. Bravestone,
Dr. Smolder Bravestone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the nerd turns into Dr. Smolder Bravestone, who is actually
I don't think Smolder is his first name, but it is Dr. Bravestone.
I'm pretty sure it is Smolder. And it's played by The Rock. So this tiny nerd is this hulking, massive, confident guy. The jock goes into the thing. He's like this 6'5" black football player. He goes into the game and comes out as his name's Fridge in real life. He comes out as Moose. Which is like this tiny little Kevin Hart black guy.
Which is the assistant to
and he
Bravestone.
essentially carries the tools and stuff in the back. He's like the weapons guy. He's like the cachet. And then there's also Bethany, who's like the female popular girl. She goes into the game and comes out as a overweight middle-aged man, which is Jack Black. So it's this girl inside the body. Shelley something. I did write this down. I should relook at it. Shelley, because she reads it. It's Sheldon, but it's Shelley. So it says curvaceous professor. And she's like, sure, I'll do that one. And then there's Karen Gillan, who is Martha, and she is the what's her name? Roxy Roundhouse.
Roxy Roundhouse. That's
and she's the man killer, and she's like this kung fu kind of sexy Lara Croft kind of character.
Yep.
Yes.
So really cool. Let's just kick things off. So the whole idea is they're inside a video game. So it does sort of jump into a lot of video game-esque tropes. Like each of the characters have their own clear strengths and weaknesses,
which they can appear
just
on the screen, like in the trailer.
Like reboot, they press and thing comes up.
Yeah.
And they have their strengths, their weaknesses, which is really, really cool. There's a couple good jokes in there as well for that. We'll get into that a little bit. And one thing, the world is filled with like NPCs.
Well,
as in every character, that they clearly specify that every character here is an NPC.
And for the fans at home, NPC means
non-playable character.
Excellent.
So that's the people that fill the game world. They don't actually do anything to the overall story. They may be simply there to tell you a certain line of dialogue or
set you on a certain quest.
Set you in a certain direction. So one of the real cool things is there's a scene with particular characters and they're trying to get information out of them. It's an NPC. He's only designed to give you one kind of information. So you have to ask him the very particular line of questioning to get that information. I thought it was really cool.
And there's another instance where there's a little boy who's an NPC and only one character can talk to him. So another character will address him and he just ignore him and talk to the other person.
Yeah.
And they take it personally.
Pretty cool.
Exploding barrels everywhere.
There was some solid explosions, right?
Yeah, I don't know about barrels, but there were definitely explosions.
Yeah, I didn't see any red barrels though. That would have been great. See, before we dive into all the characters and that sort of stuff, I want to mention about the video game stuff. I really feel like could have dived in a little bit deeper.
Well, that's what really tickled your fancy, isn't it?
Yeah, the whole idea, because like this is essentially a video game movie, sort of in a weird backwards way. So I thought it'd be really cool if they sort of manipulated that a little bit and had fun with it in the vein of like, oh, here's some texture pop in, so shit's really ugly, like what the and then it pops in all crystal clear. Or they're driving and it's boom and a rock appears because it didn't because it clipped in. That would have been great.
Or there's like just a bit of fog around everything until you get to that next level.
Yeah. Well, they did that with the map, which I thought was quite clever.
Yeah, the map did change.
If they were able to sort of like like have an NPC someone lag out and walk into a wall just consistently, like I don't what's he doing?
Big glitchy.
Dun, dun, dun. Or some guy like Skyrim style, like half stuck in and out of a wall. Like that would have like tickled my gameness. Like I would have loved
how
that.
did you feel about all the game elements to it? So there wasn't that many, like you're saying, but what they did use was clever.
What they did use was very clever.
What about the cutscenes?
Cutscene, incredible ideas. Like what's happening? Oh, it's a cutscene. Oh, okay, cool. It's like
just sit back and watch it.
Yeah, and I think that's a good way to explain why some of the other characters are doing stuff. The only difference is with that thread is with this cutscene, because it was triggered by the person they were talking to, in this case was Rhys Darby.
Yep.
They were able to
Nigel Billingsley.
They were able to understand that cutscene. So it's a good way to explain how other characters are off doing things. Because in a game, it only renders as far as you're there. Like nothing happens over there. It's just data. So when you get there, things will happen.
Right.
There's a good way to explain what's happening over there. That's a cutscene from over there.
But I mean, it could have been.
But they don't follow that through. There's a one cutscene reference, and they leave it at that pretty much.
Yeah, but then there are other scenes where it goes to the villain, and he's like having conversations like, "What happened to those guys? Did you get them? No, I didn't. Oh, I'm gonna get you."
And it's kind of off.
Do you think that because the characters in the game aren't privy to that cutscene?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
It's like something's happening
because
elsewhere.
because they didn't trigger that cutscene with Rhys Darby. That's the way I logicified it in my brain. Because I'm watching the review for Chris Stuckman. And that was a big nitpick for him, is the fact that how these people knowing what's happening and what's happening when they're not involved with it. Because when you play a game, anything happens when you're involved in it. I'm like, yes, but you see cutscenes of other parts of the world, and that's what it is. Except the difference is, because we didn't trigger that cutscene, we don't see it. As in, the characters don't see it.
Well, then again, it is like a mystical board game, or a mystical whatever it wants to turn itself into. So it's part video game, it's part mystical mumbo jumbo. So you can kind of work both ways. All right. Well, let's back up a bit. What did you think of the movie overall?
I fucking loved it,
because Logan wants to know. Logan said it doesn't sound too good.
Logan, the movie's fantastic. I thought it was really, really good. I went in with relatively low expectations, and I had a great time. And my wife, she laughs. She's not like a robot, but it's a very strong thing to get her to break.
What was it that broke her?
The cake weakness thing.
yeah, that was a good one.
Like, I don't know why. It's like she tears everything. Like, as long I've been with her about 6 years, and I've made her break like 15, like a really small amount of times comparatively to the time we've been together.
Sure.
And like this movie, just like something about that joke just landed so strong with her, and she just pissed her pants.
Well, that did work. Spoilers. So everybody has weaknesses, and one of Kevin Hart's weaknesses is, well, Kevin Hart as a character is he's slow.
Were strength
is a
speed,
weakness,
and cake.
And he's like, what is cake about? So they go to this market and they're trying this bread, and this bread's really good. The Jack Black female kind of cheerleader character. She's like, oh, I haven't had carts in so long. And he starts eating. It's like, yeah, it's good. It's like, oh yeah, it's cake. And he's like, I thought you said it was bread. And she's like, I haven't eaten bread in so long, I don't know. And then he's like, well, what's going to happen to me? Is anything happen to me? Do I look okay? And they're like, no, everything's fine.
They look fine.
It's
maybe,
cake.
Maybe it's weakness, as in like, oh, I'm prone to cake.
Yeah, like, oh god, I love cake. That's my weakness. And then he just explodes, like blows up right there.
And takes out like a big hunk of the market.
Yeah,
like it's not a small explosion.
That was good.
I loved it.
And the same moment when Jack Black first gets there and the hippopotamus eats him in the trailer, like it's an out of nowhere moment, and it's really funny, that kind of thing.
Like it's, and I like that. Yeah, the reuse of lives thing is really cool. I did think that was a really cool little concept, but yeah, because like when he ate the cake, I'm like, he's probably gonna explode, and like I thought I knew, like I can do the joke. I'm like, I know what the joke's gonna be. The punchline's gonna be kind of Blair, and I saw it, and I'm like, no, it totally holds up. Like I knew what was gonna happen, but credit to Kevin Hart's delivery as it went down, that little pre-explosion, and then how he lands. And the character, after giving the cake, returns to his NPC dialogue. Hey, everybody! It's like, oh, you shut the fuck. Yeah, so good.
Yeah,
because I'm not a big Kevin Hart fan. Like, I don't like him a lot. So for him to win me over,
well, that's the thing. The idea of the movie is that they're playing against the type that they usually are. So The Rock's usually the tough guy, but he's like this nervous nerd that's uncomfortable with his body and doesn't know what to do, and is usually the little guy, so he's not used to the strength that he has. Kevin Hart's the big tough guy, and now he's this little short guy, and I think that's Kevin Hart's shtick. I don't think I've ever seen a Kevin Hart movie. I know Kevin Hart movies, like along with Ice Cube.
I've seen him, like, I forgot that he was in Scary Movie 3.
Really?
Yeah, he was in like the 8 Mile scenes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he was the Mekhi Phifer character.
Yeah, the real short one. He's like, "What's up?" What? Yeah, the dumb long stockings on his head.
So
I forget that he's
I
in
don't
a
know
bunch
his
of
shtick to kind of be like, oh, here we go. Kevin Hart's doing the same thing again.
Yeah.
So it was fresh to me.
Exactly, and same.
So it worked well. Jack Black was really funny. Like,
it was great.
Unexpectedly funny, because I was watching The Hot Chick like 2 days before. It was on Netflix, and the family voted we're watching The Hot Chick, and I'm like, oh god, it's gonna be horrible, and it was horrible.
It's bad.
And Rob Schneider's just taking it way to 11, like, and he's like peeing. He's got a penis, and he's peeing, and it's going all up the wall, and it's acting all weird. But Jack Black,
there's an innocence.
I don't know. There's a subtlety. I mean, it's still he's pretending to be a girl, but just the things that he says, the things that they do, where he's like referring to his penis, like, look, here he is, bye, see you later.
It's the innocence of it. I think that's how I explain it.
Yeah.
Like, the whole idea is, with like Rob Schneider, there's no subtlety in the delivery of those jokes. Where this is like, it's a bit clever, a bit more to it. But it's not clever because it's still like a guy pretending that he's a girl with his dick. You know what I mean? It's like kind of like it's something simple as like, well, how does it work? It's like you just stand there and you just pee,
and then
like,
The Rock's like, make sure you aim. He's like, what is wrong with you? Like, what happened? Why do you keep saying aim like multiple times across the scene? Like, what happened to you that you're having this bad experience?
And it's like, you know, a simple joke. She's like, this is so much easier than sitting down.
Yeah,
she's like little things like that I thought were really quite clever.
And the other big thing, where it was kind of like, yeah, I get it. I've seen it in the trailer. I get the joke. It seems like a one-note joke. But then when he was teaching Karen Gillan to flirt, and Karen Gillan's hot.
Smoking hot.
And
actually.
she's like, I'm like, how are they going to do this to make it believable? And the way that she unco walks, and just the way that I'm like, how can you stuff up a hair flip? But the way she's just like, and her teeth is like perfect.
Like, I know Karen Gillan to be an exceptional actress from Doctor Who, so that wasn't an easy for me. But like,
yes. Amy Pond.
I know her as Amy Pond, but like in here, I saw a different level, which is really interesting because like for a comedy movie like this, you're not going to expect to see really tense, dense acting, right? Like really quality shit. But like the subtle mimic, like of her as Martha as the character, and then her as Roundhouse, whatever. Like the mannerisms were quite like whether the young actress was mimicking Karen Gillan or vice versa. Either way, like the way they held their body, the way they held their face, and how they responded to certain sentences, and like the way that like their body language when they were saying particular sentences or particular things that made them uncomfortable, really just show like there's some quality chops between those two. One of them had chops. I don't know which one. I think it's Karen, but
the other thing that did bother me though is that one of her skills was dance fighting. Now there was fighting,
but it was just dancing,
and there was music. No, there was no dance. There's no dance fighting. There wasn't one move that she did that was in time to the music.
Are you thinking like capoeira?
Anything.
You know, Brazilian.
Even if it was part dance and then turns into a kick, like it wasn't dance fighting in any way, shape, or form. It was fighting. And
so Coco Jumbo, was it?
I can't remember the song. I was going to look it up. No.
It wasn't Coco Jumbo.
Yeah, it's like an 80s song, but yeah, that was like, okay, I'm enjoying the scene. It's funny what's happening, but this is dance fighting, so take it out. Just don't call it dance fighting. Just call it fighting when music's playing.
Yeah, I thought she was
fighting
great.
To music.
And that brings us back to The Rock.
The Rock. Okay.
The Rock is just a charming dude.
Yeah, but the first thing he does is his eyebrow.
Smoldering. Yeah,
when he first lands, he does that. And he's kind of the leader of the group. And there's a lot of like, whoa, what's going on here? And things like that.
Yeah.
What I didn't like at first when I was watching the movie, it was like the nerd guy Spencer is playing Street Fighter at the start.
Yeah.
And he's like, punch, punch, parry, dodge, punch, kick, punch, uppercut. Like, who does that? Who like does it in emotion and talks through it like an
I
idiot?
do when I'm first learning a combo.
Yeah, but he's not doing combos. He's just punching like
Okay,
X,
that's
X, X, X. If he's doing like moves and stuff, complex moves, or even combos, but he's just like punch, punch, punch. But then when it comes to the point in the movie where The Rock's fighting and he's playing against the people and he's like, I know this, dodge, uppercut, blah, 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 that made sense. It justified the stupidity of the start. But that was a nitpick.
But as I said, it's the little things that you get from having a small dude in a big dude's body. He's like, I think I'm going to be a good puncher. But and like just rails it. Like it's all in the ad. That's in the ads, but it's great.
Yeah.
And just like the little things, and just really kind of cool.
Even with the concept of the lives, where I'm like, okay, they've got 3 lives. Either this is going to be like
have a tattoo on their arm specifying 3 lives.
Yeah, 3 stripes on there.
Yeah.
I was like, man, like now that I know that they all have 3 lives, like it's gonna be like they've only used 1 each. It's gonna be a long time for this to end. Like, how long are they all gonna lose their lives? I imagine they will. But it never really got to that. They kind of like there were moments when they were just stuffing around that they lost
there's
their
literally a
lives.
moment where I think The Rock gets pushed off a cliff by Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
And that's how he loses one of his lives.
Yeah, exactly. And like Jack Black, like I said, he got eaten by the hippopotamus all out of nowhere.
And then later on, Kevin Hart gets sacrificed to get the gem thing back, and it's like that was really clever. I'm like, what are they gonna? Oh shit! Yeah, it was really good. I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, because he had the life to sacrifice. So it's like missing out. And and the way that they respawn is that they come from the air and drop down.
Yeah.
So towards the end of the movie, when they're trying to get the gem back in the thing and solve the Jumanji, they use that to their advantage, where they know you're going to land at this. Because
I thought she only had like. This is deep spoilers.
I thought it was her last life.
I thought she only had 1 life left as well, so I thought that was really like I was like, "Fuck, she's doing it's a big ass like
sacrifice."
Yeah, but it's still when she went boom, I'm like, dude, awesome.
That's good. And yeah, so essentially, when they go into the game, the Nigel Billingsby, Rhys Darby's character comes in and he's just like the exposition.
Yeah.
And essentially the idea is...
Because they're wrapping it in that NPC character, it doesn't feel like exposition. It is.
Well, it is. And it is.
But it's kind of like, okay, you're an NPC. Like, this explains it.
Yeah, we know this is exposition. This is what it is.
Yeah.
So essentially they have a duel. So it sets up this character, Van Pelt, who's played by Bobby Cannavale. And he's not in any of the trailers. And he's this evil guy who in the cutscene shows that he was like helping with Rhys Darby, and then he was an explorer, and then they found the gem of Jumanji, which is this green glowing rock, which seems to be the thing that powers the game itself.
Yeah.
And it was an eye of a statue, and he removed it and got the powers of it, and it turned him evil, and then they have to return it to their, say Jumanji saves the game, resets. But his character's name's Van Pelt, and in Jumanji, the original one, Van Pelt was the hunter. So the hunter, and another thing that I really liked about Jumanji, the original in '95, is the hunter follows him everywhere. Like he is the one, he drew the mark on the board that said the hunter's going to hunt you. So he's hunting Robin Williams the whole time, Alan Parrish, and is relentless in his hunt. Whereas he's familiar with him. He's like, oh god, it's Van Pelt from the game. He's familiar with that character. And in the cartoon Jumanji, the animated series, Van Pelt was in it as well, and he was the hunter in there. And there was an episode where they killed him, but because Alan Parrish's character killed him, he became the hunter, because there always has to be a hunter for the game.
Oh fuck, alright, that's cool.
And that was a cool idea. And in the original, the hunter was played by the actor that played his father.
Very cool.
So it was like the game is personal to you. Like it changes to match your worst fears or your worries or the people in your life. So I thought that was a cool concept. And he looked completely different playing the role. Jonathan Hyde was the British actor. So I thought that it was a wasted opportunity that Bobby Cannavale was just whoever, where it could have been a character from the principal or whoever it might have been, to make it a little more personal.
Wasn't the principal like Dean Pelton or something? Like in my head, it was like that
Dean
guy
Pelton?
from Community.
No.
Who was the principal in
It
there?
was just some cool like dude, like blonde hair. He's
Oh.
like, make better choices.
In my head, he was. In my head, he was.
If it was the Dean,
in my head, he was bald.
awesome. No, it would have been better if it was Dean.
If it was Dean Pelton, I would have pissed my pants.
The Dean. But no, yeah, so that was a waste of an opportunity if it's the same character.
But being someone that plays a lot of adventure games, like, you know, he did feel like a sort of generically Uncharted villain.
Well, another thing was he's got this glowing green eye because he's kind of possessed by, or he's impure because of the things giving him evil juices or whatever it is. But he's got like bugs all over him, like centipedes crawl through his ear.
Yeah,
and a lot of the audience I was
animals.
with were just like terrified by that, even though it's clear like he's just there, and they're like probably didn't even tell him.
People
it's there.
don't like bugs.
They're just CGing it later.
Yeah.
But yeah, people were freaking out about that.
People don't like bugs, man.
It looked dumb to me. But yeah.
Pretty dumb. And then the fifth character they sort of bump in halfway through is one of the Jonas brothers.
Yeah, Nick Jonas.
Yeah, I was like, holy fuck, it's Nick Jonas. That's cool.
Did you get what was going on there?
No, what do you mean?
When he first turned up? And he's like, hey, come this way.
Nope.
Like, how do you know all these things? Why aren't you an NPC? What's going on?
Oh, yeah.
Did that click?
No. Oh, it did a little bit. As in, like, when it shit went down and this guy comes in and pulls him out, I'm like, all right, you're the fifth character. That's what you're getting at?
I didn't get it at first, because at the start, the guy gets the game, PlayStation guy, and then he gets sucked into the game.
Yep.
Then the movie's set 20 years later, present day. And they find Nick Jonas in the game.
It was literally as many years as since the movie, so 22 years, I think it was. Yeah.
I think it was 20 exactly.
Oh, okay. I thought it was 22.
20. But yeah, and then you discover that he was that kid at the start, and he's been stuck in the game. And because he said time moves weird in the game, he doesn't know how long it's been here. He thinks it's been months, but it's actually been 20 years. And the way that they discover that is, and I liked this in concept, where he's like, yeah, now we can go and get jiggy with it. And they're all like, the other three are like, what are you jiggy with it? Like, who the hell says that anymore?
So what do you mean? Like, that chick's as hot as...
Yeah, he's like, man...
Karen Gillan's character's like, she's no Cindy Crawford, but she's pretty attractive.
Yeah, and they're like, Cindy Crawford? Like, what year do you think it is?
Yeah, I love it. It's like, Cindy Crawford, she's still alright, and...
Yeah, not so much. She's old now. And they're like, yeah, it's like 1996. And he's like, nah, man, you've been in here. And it's a sad moment, and it's a clever way for them to be like, we don't use that slang. Like, oh, I've heard the slang. It must be for them. Getting Jiggy With It came out in 1997. I'm just saying, 1996, that song didn't exist. Album, Big Willie Style, came out in 1998. Fucked it up.
Ooh, look at you with your...
I was like that. I was just like, nitpicky. I was watching, I'm like, no! And then I was like Googling, is Jiggy With It a saying? I imagine it is. But in that exact context, did they use it at any stage?
I believe it's a reference to Will Smith.
Well, in that exact phrasing, yes.
Yeah.
But that was a cool idea. And that he's been trapped in this game for 20 years, and then it's all sad. But then the Jack Black character kind of like starts getting keen on him, and they share some nice moments. And there's another awesome moment where
it was really jarring for him having sort of been hit on by Jack Black.
And then when they explain it to him, he's like just nice. It's like, yeah, nice to meet you too, man. But then after when they explain it, he's a little more, like, oh, it's a girl. Okay, a little more into it, which is cool for a kids movie where the two guys are flirting. That's funny, and people are.
Yeah, no one was being like, oh, none of this is homosexual.
Yeah, I was like, this is cool.
It was really cool.
And then later I thought, it might bother some people. Whatever. Anyway, point of the story is Nick Jonas. What do you think of Nick Jonas?
I think it was good. Like, I don't have a history with the Jonas Brothers at all.
What? You're not a Jonas Brothers fan?
No, because they came out, they were like Disney Channel shit.
Yes.
And it was way after, like, I stopped. Because, like, I had... Ozstar, as it was in the country, which was Foxtel.
Yeah. It was Galaxy before that, where I was, but anyway.
Yeah, we had Ozstar, and like, so we spent a lot of time on like Nickelodeon. They didn't have the Disney Channel then. So then once we got rid of Ozstar or Foxtel, Disney Channel came in shortly after.
Cool.
So I never actually got to experience like the the big Hilary Duff thing. We got Hilary Duff on ABC with Liz McGuire. Yeah. And like the Sweet Life of Zach. All that stuff. I have no history. No Hannah Montana.
That's irrelevant.
Nothing.
But yeah, I thought he was pretty cool. Originally it was going to be Tom Holland from Spider-Man Homecoming.
That would have been a pretty good pull.
I like Nick Jonas. He worked well.
He did good. But yeah, like I said, because I don't have the history, I was impressed. That's what. Well, the point I was getting is like I don't have a history with him, so I'm like I don't know whether you're a good or a bad actor.
But he was the least. He didn't have any comedy to him. I don't think.
No, he's been there.
He was just like, yeah, I'm the serious character.
Yeah,
I'm here for exposition as well.
Yeah, I did like the sort of the whole idea of is like I've been here because I've lost 2 lives and I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I'm scared to go ahead because if I die, I'm screwed. But what I did like is there's it mentions that one of his weaknesses is mosquitoes.
Yeah.
And then later in the movie, they have this big heroic moment where he's gotten past a level he's never got before, and he's like, "We did it, the teamwork!" And then he gets bitten by a mosquito, like, and then Jack Black kind of resuscitates him, and in the process of giving CPR, it drains one of his lives and gives the life to him. That was cool.
That was really clever. I thought that was a really good idea.
I like that.
Very, like a very real sort of simple thing.
Yeah, it's like they set up the rules in the game, and then they work within those rules, and that's what's cool. If they just do anything or whatever, anything goes.
Yeah.
What I didn't think, they didn't really play up the elements of video game-ness. Like, The Rock ran a little fast, and sure, he had super strength, but, you know, like ridiculous jumping, like video gamey kind of elements to it. It was still pretty grounded.
Yeah, so like there were moments where they could have pushed the gameness a little bit. Like, you know, I think the whole idea, like, The Rock could fucking bang it. Like, he could go fast.
Yes, which he did at one time.
Yeah, and he did a couple times. I think.
So it was directed by Jake Kasdan.
I don't know who that is.
He's the son of Lawrence Kasdan, screenwriter of Force Awakens, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Empire Strikes Back. And he did Orange County with Jack Black and Colin Hanks, who was also in the movie. And he did Bad Teacher and Sex Tape, which is like the worst movie ever made.
Yep.
Cameron Diaz.
Bad Teacher, that was Cameron Diaz as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, Cameron Diaz, Jason Segel, and they're both in Bad Teacher and Sex Tape. Okay. And Jack Black's in Sex Tape as well.
Oh, really? Cool.
The other thing I don't like Jack Black is awesome. Awesome. And when he's in a lead role like School of Rock or Shall I Howl, like, he's incredible. But when he's in these ensembles, he's kind of like relegated, and even you feel like the actor's kind of like, I'll just do whatever over here. Like, you can be the star Rock, I'll just sit back here and do what I'm doing.
I think that comes down to how it's written. I think School of Rock is written for Jack Black.
And then, but utilizing him in that sense, because it's written for him, he's incredible.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's not. I think it's more of a, when he's in an ensemble, is because they're not writing to his strengths.
But he's there. He can be like, let's make it funnier.
But Karen Gillan was pretty much kept to the back end as well.
But Karen Gillan doesn't really have a shtick per se at the moment. Like, those are all seasoned comedians, actors, so you know what their thing is. Karen Gillan, like, what is there? There's Doctor Who, there's Guardians of the Galaxy.
She had that
Mirrors
TV
horror
series
movie
for a while called Selfie. Didn't go too well.
Oh, there you go. There's a couple of things, but you know, she doesn't really have a thing yet. I can't think who they could have gotten that would have had, like, brought some kind of oomph to it. Maybe like, you know, Jennifer Lawrence, where you think she's going to be his Katniss hero, and then she's just like awkward and weird and can't do things
I disagree. I don't like Jennifer Lawrence, period. You know, because she does have that sort of, her off-screen persona is that real sort of awkward kind of every girl.
Yeah,
and I don't believe that in the slightest. Like,
you don't think she's bumbling and like, I fart and
I see straight through that.
I put my pants on one leg at a time.
No, I'm like, you're full of shit. It's the same Sam Worthington, like, oh man, I just kind of fucking fell into acting. I was sleeping on a man's couch, and next thing you know, I'm in Wrath of Titans. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's that same thing. Like, no, that's not true. You honestly worked your ass off, probably, right?
Yeah,
like, you were in Avatar, and then you've done nothing since. You know what I mean? So it's like, you didn't just happen to fall in this. Don't be that guy.
Yeah, I can give you that.
Yeah. But so, like I said, from this, I can't imagine anybody else in that role, because I think she did a good job.
No, I think she's really good, and she makes a great addition. But, you know, she was not the weakest compared to Nick Jonas, but, you know, like, she was like a little underwhelming in what I'm saying. Comedy wise, it's fun.
I laughed a lot.
Action
way
wise,
more than I expected.
Action adventure. Did you feel it lived up to an action adventure movie?
There were moments where it did sort of do very action heavy stuff. No worries, Jess. No need to apologize. Thank you for turning up. Yeah, there were a lot of, like, at the end when he's fanging it up the back of a statue on a motorbike. I'm like, yep, that's some game breaking physics right there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there were moments of adventure, like that whole in the canyon helicopter, which you see in the trailer as well. I thought that was a really nice action moment. It was like, there were, like, it didn't feel at risk at all, which we know that, you know, most action movies, any sort of popcorn movie like this don't really have that's what's it referred, you know, like, yeah, like that.
You don't think they're actually going to die?
Yeah, you know you're going to die. And that's why I like the idea of
the
them.
Life
that's
aspect
why I like
added that.
Yeah, that's why I like the idea of when they'll, like, throw him out, throw fucking Kevin Hart out. I'm like, whoa, okay, what the fuck? Because, like, I'm like, they're going to get out, they're going to clear it, he's going to fix it, he's going to fix the blades, they're going to get out and be fine.
It was like a CGI crapstorm in that, where there wasn't like a helicopter prop or whatever, and then it was all green screen around them, but it
never took me out of it.
No, because it's like it's supposed to be a video game as well, but it's like that heightened adventure. It's a kid's adventure, you know. You don't expect it to look realistic, and even the rhinoceroses and elephants and things like that. Do you think it was a callback to the 95 special effects? Yeah, because
the special effects on the original Jumanji do not hold up in the slide, especially like the monkeys and shit.
Everything's like they haven't color graded it. Everything's white and washed out, and then everything else is normal around it. But yeah, because they had the rhinos, and there was that one sequence where they were in the canyon, and that was very CG heavy. And then the elephant turns up at the very end. There wasn't really that many. Like, the way Robin Williams describes it in the original Jumanji is that, like, it's the deepest, darkest jungles, and the most horrible things happen, and the worst things imaginable, and you hear someone getting chewed to death, and you just pray that it's not going to be you. But the jungle here, the same with Kong Skull Island, where Skull Island in the King Kong 2005 is really like vines everywhere, spiders in everything, dark, treacherous jungle. Whereas in Kong Skull Island, it's just like open plains and barely any creatures. And then when you get to this jungle, it is the same kind of thing. It's the same Hawaiian location, Jurassic Park Valley. Was there really any creatures other than just like some regular safari animals?
But this could be the adapting of the game as well.
True. What did you think of like the motorbike characters? There was one bit that I thought was quite cool.
I do like
they came over the hill, and like by the time the first set of motorbikes got to the first jump, they'd be over the second jump. So like all the bikes are in the air at once. That was pretty cool.
That was pretty. I did enjoy that because like having played once again, I think Uncharted did play some sort of influence, whether intentional or not, because like in Uncharted, when you're riding away, how many random dudes on bikes do you get confronted with?
That's true.
And I think it's the same sort of character in that way. So like the easiest comparison is Uncharted, just simply for its action adventure, its pulp action. So like I had a lot of similarities to that in a good way. You know, the whole idea of like a sort of a kind of one note supernatural villain a little bit. And
do you see itself lending itself to further sequels?
I hope not. I imagine they would, but I thought it was a good once-off. Like, if it was to see again, like this, my original concern was Jumanji would feel like a cash grab, as Logan mentioned earlier in the chat.
Sure.
I don't think it was truly a cash grab. Like, I think it was, but it wasn't. Like, I felt that it was handled with a bit more respect than I would have expected. Like Baywatch as an example. That was a pretty bad movie.
Yeah, that was horrible.
So like they've taken a name, they've taken something simply because of the name and then made something out of it accordingly. Like, but with Jumanji, I felt that they gave it a little bit more respect, and enough respect to put quality actors in it, give them quality material, even if there are some like not subpar things. Like they've brought it into the new in the best way possible.
Do you think they could have done this angle in 1995? Do you think 95's video games were enough to be like all the things that are in this game?
No, they
could have parodied back then.
Video games have become a lot more of a stronger art form and a stronger thing.
What about
a song
2005?
Yeah, you probably could have got away with it in 2005, but it would have been not very good.
Because everybody is like, whoa, that's genius. It's a video game now because kids don't play board games. I think board games are huge now.
Board games are huge, but not to the mass.
No, I mean, but you know what I mean. Like, video games have had their big thing, and they're still prevalent.
They're huge.
But you know, once they got to the stage of like, once they got to the stage of like movie budget video games, AAA titles, that was kind of when it became like, okay, video games is a legitimate thing. It's not just like, yeah, kids are playing video games anymore.
Yeah, but see, it would take a while to get the like, because right now. We're getting a small side conversation, but like the average age of video game player now is 35.
Okay.
So where 10 years ago the average player would have been 25. You know what I mean? So as people have gotten older, the average game has gotten older as well, because it's becoming something that, you know, like my dad doesn't play games, but I play games, and as a result, my son will play games.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because we're becoming that next older generation.
Sure.
And I think 10 years ago, that would have been really tropey. It would have been really poorly handled in terms of...
But if it was the exact same script...
If it was the exact same script, I think it would have been. It certainly wouldn't have looked as good.
Because there's nothing. Well, there's nothing modern.
But there's nothing. There's nothing that
it.
clearly specifies modern games. That's true.
Yeah. Do you think they could have changed the movie slightly and made it a new complete movie? Like,
as in not
Jumanji at all.
This is Josh's biggest concern with it. We talked a little bit about it earlier. Mm-hmm. He feels that it shouldn't have been called Jumanji.
Okay.
Could be called anything else. But I think the Jumanji played such a role in it, and it gave it that entry point. Because I think if this was any other movie, no one would have gone.
I think the things that make it the best are the new elements that aren't Jumanji related.
Agreed.
And it's cool. Like, I go in for the Jumanji, but overall, it's a fun movie. Like, it is a good summer movie to us. So, Christmas movie, where it's Boxing Day, kids are tired from Christmas, you just want to sit them down and watch a movie. This is the perfect time to put it out for that. And it is a fun ride from beginning to end. You don't really think about it much afterwards. But
I've thought about it, but I'm like, man, I want to see that again when it comes out on Blu-ray.
Yeah. But it's fun. Like, you pop it in, just have fun, and then it's gone.
Yeah, when the movie finished, I'm like, man, I'm buying the fuck out of this on Blu-ray, like, without a doubt.
I think... Yeah, it's tough.
Cause I think I will still enjoy it a second time because I think there'll be enough time between now and it comes out on home video.
I don't know if people would make the connection to be like, okay, they got sucked into a video game and it's a jungle. If it wasn't named Jumanji, do you think you'd be like, this is like Jumanji? I don't think you'd even make that connection.
No one would have got the connection between that and Jumanji unless they called it Jumanji. Like it just would have been someone got sucked into a video game.
Yeah.
And I think without the Jumanji title to it, people wouldn't have seen it. People wouldn't have gone in with some warmth, and I don't think it would have been as well received, even if it was still just as funny and as good as it is now.
Okay. Lee and I had that conversation the other day about video games. Says Rock'n'Roll.
Says yes. Oh, so that was about the age of the gamer. Yeah, it's a very interesting conversation because that's the thing. You know, as I mentioned, side conversation is like, you know, now my son, he has been around video games since the day he was born. Like that when he was 3 weeks old and he's in his little rocker and I'm playing video games and he's on my lap and you know like he knows how to
just like facing the wall.
He knows how to like when I'm playing games he has a controller. He has his own one. It's got no batteries in it, so he can press the buttons all he wants.
Yeah.
So like he will forever have games in his life. Where you know for me video games came in when I was like 7. You know, because my parents didn't game, but my parents been really cool and gave me PS1.
Okay.
Yeah, so like, I think in terms of a demographic, this has a greater demographic than it would have had 10 years ago.
The thing that I really liked about the movie is that it is one of those movies that I love. It's the family adventure movie, late 80s, early 90s, your Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Beethoven's, your Home Alones, your Neverending Stories, your Goonies. It's that real people that are like wouldn't normally associate with each other. The nerd that pines for the hot girl, and then they get swept up in this adventure, and you see, hey, these people are actually cool. You know, like I would have a chance with this person. Although there are fun things and interesting things about these people that I wouldn't get to know in a normal high school situation or life situation. And then through this amazing adventure they go on, they're stronger and they have this bond that nobody else has because they've been on this journey. Yeah. And again, it's the mundane real world crossed with the supernatural that I like. And that's what I like about Jumanji is that it's real world with these fantastical elements brought into it. So it was right in my
wheelhouse. Yeah.
Wheelhouse. I was going to say Will Park. But I don't know how that would play to audiences now. It's very much a throwback movie to that time, and where they say they don't make them like that anymore. I think this is that.
Yeah, but like it's reviewed really well. It's making a good ton of cash, so it's like it's doing really, really well. So I think the reception is surprisingly good for it. But speaking of the compared to new and old, like the whole what's the blonde chick? Bethany was the blonde. Yeah. So like the whole phone thing I think was really interesting. It talks about because we do live in a day and age now where we are very self-absorbed, very very narcissistic. So like it makes sense.
Like and subscribe.
Yes, this is saying coming from two people that run a YouTube channel that's solely based on our faces. But like, I thought it was very interesting to sort of poke fun at that. Especially the whole idea is like at the start of the when you first get introduced to this character, she's lying on a couch and she's setting up a photo for Instagram, and the caption is "just woke up." Yeah. You know what I mean, like,
And she's spending all this time.
You
doing
spent
hair,
10 minutes.
moving the curtain, getting
Yeah.
the light right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same
And
thing.
like I think that's a great little. It's not a very smart joke, but it's like it perfectly encapsulates that stuff. Because like me right now, because like we have an Instagram account, links in the description. So I'm slowly learning how to like make cool photos of like video game shit and just kind of have fun with it. And it's like, like when I first made the Instagram account, I'm like I take a photo. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of cool. But now I'm like positioning things. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about lighting. I'm thinking about like the filters. So it's like, so for me it was kind of like I kind of hit home really fast. I'm like, yeah, no, I do dick around with photos a lot now. You know what I mean? It's just like that and that whole the thread of this girl, being this probably like having what's the Karen Gillian's character's name? Martha come in and be that sort of like Daria-esque.
Well, they had that moment, yeah, Darius.
When they had that moment, they're like, "You hate me," and she's like, "No."
Yeah, you kind of
you judge me before you.
Yeah, put up a defense against them so that people don't get to know you.
Yeah,
because you think they won't like you. So if you give them a reason not to like you, then you be like, "Yeah, I was right. They don't like me."
And it was very clever. Like it was the relationship between the two. Like I don't think they were like best buddies by the end, but like it was a nice warming between the two. Like because. There's a lot of high school-esque movies about like the popular girl and the unpopular girl becoming friends, that sort of stuff, and it's a little too on the nose and in other movies. But I thought this was really kind of like well handled. At the end, they weren't like the best of friends, but they bonded, they had a moment, and they were able to share an experience and become acquaintances because of it.
Yeah, and I like that. I mean, the other thing I liked is. Just like the little throwaway things of like I love the idea of like time traveling back to a time when things are different, or traveling to the future and not knowing how things work. In Demolition Man, there's the 3 shells, and Stallone is cryogenically frozen in the present and wakes up in the future, and he goes to the toilet and he doesn't know how to use the toilet because there's the 3 shells. So when I go to places where you go to the bathroom and there's no tap. And you've got to kind of figure it out. Like, I like this. This is fun. Like, I'm in the future. It's a bathroom. I get that. You wash your hands in this place. Where is the thing?
How do I make the water
So you
happen?
wave your hand here. That doesn't do it. You got to hold it down some. You press it and it stops. So you got to hold it there to make it work. Those kind of things. Just thinking of how it works. And so in this one, when she's going on and on and on about her phone, Nick Jonas is like, does phone doing something different in the future? Like, why do you need your phone all the time to do this or that or the other? And that's the same thing. In 95, phones weren't smartphones. You didn't have everything on it. So that was a funny little like, what is with the phone stuff? I love those kind of clashes of times. Another thing that they didn't pay attention to in the original Jumanji is that at the end of this movie, so what's his name? I think it was Alex. Alex is Nick Jonas's character, and he's been in Jumanji since 1996. So when the game resets and they finish the game, he goes back to 1996 and resumes his life as if the game never started because it resets.
Yeah.
However, the same thing happens for the kids, but they go back to their time and they've lived the experience, so that they meet up with him and he's like 20 years older, and he's Colin Hanks, and the girls that had a crush on him is like, oh, you've grown up and you're an adult now, and he's like, yeah, and I got a kid and her name's Bethany that I named after the girl that saved my life, which is you.
Oh dude, so this is how broken I am as a fucking human now, right? Is like, since I got married, since I had a kid, I am just X-Race's best ASMR voice. Nah. You know what ASMR is, right?
No.
It's ASMR is like audio sensory. So where it's by people like like scratch their beard into microphones and you kind of like whisper into microphones and like it's not supposed to be a sex thing, but it's totally a sex thing. I was trying to thought. Because I didn't cry, but I got moved. I was like
I did. I had welling tears, and I'm like, don't look at me.
Yeah, because I had a little.
I'm enjoying this moment.
Because it was a genuine. It felt more genuine than like other times where like my wife's currently watching The Blacklist right now. Fucking batshit show, by the way. Spoilers for that show. One of the characters passes away. She dies, but before her and her partner, they have a baby, and she wanted to name the baby Agnes. Horrible name, fucking bad name. And he's clearly like, that's a bad name. And then when this character dies shortly after the child's born, he names the baby Agnes. I'm like, that's a bit on the nose, dude. Like, that's kind of poo. It's in the same vein of Fast and the Furious, where like, this baby's name's Brian.
That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah.
It would have made more sense if they called him Paul.
Yeah.
But
if they
naming
called
him
Paul-
Brian is like, but Brian's still alive. Like, we're going to go see him.
Yeah,
like,
if
he's
they
not
named him
dead.
Paul.
We'd get the joke and it would make sense.
Yeah.
Naming him Brian is like, I'm just going to call my kid Ryan and then I'm going to go see Ryan the next day, and it's just confusing.
Yeah.
But he is named Ryan, so it's weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get what you're saying. But the other thing was the...
So the point I was making...
Oh, that was the point.
Oh, well, I kind of lost my train of thought with the naming thing. So like, I thought that was a really genuine sort of, because like I didn't expect. I'm like, oh, what if like, so it's a kid? All right, cool. And then Bethany,
But the other kid, he said, the other kid's Jacob or whatever the hell it is. But it should have been Alan, because then it's homage to Robin Williams, but it's also the heart kept him alive.
Yeah, if it was Alan and Bethany,
or just not have another kid and just have the girl. Why is he like, I've got another son, whatever, and this, like, it seemed pointless to have another son.
I was going to name him Bethany, but
yeah, then we got that jerk over there.
I was hoping for a girl.
But yeah, essentially the point is that it resets for both of them, whereas in Jumanji, because Alan started the game in 1974, it resets to 1974. So when it gets to 1995 and Judy and Peter turn up, the kids, they don't recognize them because they didn't have that
timeline,
experience.
different timelines.
Yeah,
stuff,
so there's two timelines in this one where it should really just be one.
So in this one, there are two timelines, but they're joined timelines. They're not. It's that weird like boot. Like it's that what's it called? It's called a bootlace paradox or a bootstrap paradox, something. Okay. It's where an event in the future, the event in the future affects an event in the past. So like that future event can't happen at the past event. The past event can happen at the future event. So the whole idea, it's. Time travel paradoxes are fucking dumb.
But it's the same thing. Nick Jonas started the game. They continued the game.
Yeah.
Ron Williams started the game. Peter and Judy continue the game. But it goes back to the restart point.
So the whole point is in that.
I get for the story.
If it's keeping in the same
sense.
timeline, when the kids, in order for their timeline to maintain, that event in 1995 still needs to happen. It's that weird sort of like this. In order for this to happen, that needs to happen, and that in order for that to happen, this needs to happen, and it's just this. It's when layers of time travel shit happens, and it just gets confusing.
Mm-hmm. But at the end of the movie, spoilers, they smash it with a bowling ball.
They beat the fuck out of it.
It'll be back. It's magic.
Yeah.
What else could it come back?
Well, they could have done a Superman and like Batman vs Superman and kind of goes,
yeah.
like floats a little bit.
Kind of just little broken bits. What could they do now?
X-Ray Brawl, you're so interesting. I don't want to leave now. Rise comes to ASMR, hangs out for general chit chats.
Sorry to disappoint, but hopefully that works.
Scratch your beard in there. Get your beard in there. There you go. Done. Just like you had lice.
Yeah, dandruff everywhere. Zathura was the quasi sequel.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
So it was based on the same author's books, Chris Van Allsburg, who did Jumanji in 1981, and then did Zathura in like 2002.
It's like Space Jumanji.
Yeah, Space Jumanji. So do you think that they could do different video games? I mean, Jumanji is very much, it's a jungle game.
Yeah.
Could they do like Zathura, the video game?
I reckon they could, like, and then just sort of go down the line like a Mass Effect sort of line. You know what I mean? I want
to see what the other characters. There were, I feel like maybe 3 or 4 other characters that you didn't get to see.
Yeah.
I think what works so well
in terms of the heroes that they picked.
Yeah, there was
no, there was 5.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought there was a couple more.
There was 5, and like they went to pick the first one, couldn't pick it because that was Nick Jonas's character.
Yeah, that one was
they went to the other 4.
So the thing that I think works best of the movie is the actors.
Yeah.
So if you took those out of it and made a new Jumanji with new characters, it might not work.
That was my thing. If they do make a sequel to this, X-Ray says I was trying to make you laugh at that.
Yeah.
So like I think the dynamic of these 4 characters works well because like Rock and Kevin Hart have worked together in the past.
Yes.
And I think Jack Black brings enough charisma on his own to like not have to really worry about building a dynamic with anyone. I think he just kind of brings his own level of charm.
Yep.
And Karen Gillan was just great, and she just brought a good performance.
Gillan.
So I keep saying Gillian as if like
Gillian Anderson.
like Gillian Anderson from. Even that's not pronounced right.
No.
So it's Gillan. So it's G-I-L-L-A-N.
Yeah.
Gillan. Okay, my apologies.
Scottish.
Yeah.
Maybe the name's Scottish.
She does an incredible. For someone with a very thick Scottish accent, her American accent is really good.
Yeah, she's good.
So like I'm trying, like I don't know who would they cast for the next one. I think
If they thought about it the same way, by the numbers kind of way, where they're like, okay, this person is this way, I think they'd have to think about it a little more to be like, we want to capture the same thing. What characters? But I mean, they kind of hit the tropes of.
like they hit the tropes with actually quality actors as well, which is fantastic. So like, my concern is if they do it again, like because they'll have money behind it. Because like Sony Pictures will be like, the first one did really well. Who do you like? You know who rates really well? Chris Pratt. Can you get me Chris Pratt, Jennifer Lawrence, another
Justin Bieber.
You know, like that is like who's hot right now? Like who's? Mind you, I'm sure that I don't think Chris Pratt's been hot like he has been in a couple of years, but
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Jennifer Lawrence is that hot anymore.
yeah, but you know what I mean. Like
Not on
that,
the top list.
like that's what I'm saying. Like that would
that
would become the mashup of actors that just pick because they're big time actors. I think
this is like not that it's a magnificent, but it is great fun. It's a good movie,
Yeah.
but it is that lightning in the bottle. Like all these elements together at this time worked well, and you can't recapture that again.
I think pretty good.
Unless you wait 20 years and do it in another 20 years,
Yeah.
maybe.
Who knows?
Any final thoughts?
Yeah.
What's your overall thoughts?
My overall thoughts. This movie was fantastic. I had a way better time with this movie than I ever thought I was going to. Like I said, my wife and I went and saw it. Because I had just had my appendix out, so I was still freshly wounded, a lot of pain, laughing hurt. So I'm like, but like it was 100% worth it. Like I was in pain, laughing. I think the performances were way better than they should have been. There was such a good heart to the movie. As you said, it's like that perfect like family blockbuster. There was no swearing apart from the Jack Black referencing his dick. That there was no overtly sexual content. So like even like now, right? If you think of most comedies, they are very raunchy because that's the thing these days. It's much easier to make a raunchy comedy than to actually make like a smart comedy. So someone that relies on raunchy humor, like I get it, but it was it was wholesome fun. Probably the best way to put it.
I agree. Like you were saying with the stomach and not being able to laugh, I think that depending on the movie you're watching, the circumstances or the viewing experience can affect the movie. Like there's things that I'm like, this is the best movie ever. I love this movie. It's my favorite movie. And you show it to someone and they're just not into it, and they bring it down. And I'm like, I'm doubting myself. This is a good movie. You're bringing it down. When we went to see it, it was on the Saturday that was 42 degrees.
Oh shit.
And the whole plan was to go to the cinema to get out of the heat, and everybody else had the same idea.
Yeah.
So the cinema was packed, and the air conditioning on all the cinemas upstairs wasn't working. So it was packed. Every seat was filled. Yeah. So we went to Village, and we're sitting there and just like pouring sweat, and they didn't turn it on the whole time. And everyone with me was in the foulest mood. People like couldn't sit next to each other, so we had this cranky lady sitting next to us that refused to move her legs when we were trying to get in and out. And I still had a blast. It was still great. I mean, I was just like, I'm going to power through this. I'm pouring with sweat. It's a horrible experience, but the movie was so good that I was like energized at the end of it.
See, I think knowing my wife got a lot out of it as well. I think sort of helped in that way. Yeah, because like my wife, like I love her to death. We have very different senses of humor. Like I can make her laugh all the time. She can make me laugh all the time. But like when it comes to movie humor, like my humor is Kevin Smith, Seth Rogen, and like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, all this like like weird, obscure, like not weird, obscure, but like obscure, fucking dumb, idiot fucking humor, right?
Okay, toilet humor.
Toilet humor. Where my wife's a bit more up there. Like she's like, IT Crowd is like silly, but it's a little bit smarter. I mean, like. Like she's in that vein of like slightly smarter comedy. So having her come in and both of us having a really good time and lots of like belly laughs, like enough till it hurt. Yeah, it was really good. I think that certainly added to the experience.
Excellent. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up. If anybody else has got anything to say,
you could do one more ASMR for X-Ray. Just a bit.
Okay. What do you want?
There we go. Done.
All right. So if you want to join in the conversation, jump in the comments below. Where else can you find us?
You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all social medias. Links are in the description below. If you want to have a chat outside of these spoiler discussions,
It's like a jungle in
you
here.
can go you can go to the Discord server where we chat all day, every day. Link is also in the description as well. And if you really liked what you saw, you can be sure to like, subscribe, or maybe even head over to patreon.com/thepopculturists.
Excellent. Check us out next time. And for now, that is a wrap.
I'm going to click the button.